Listen, I don't want to come on here and say that I'm Nostradamus or that I know everything that's going to happen in the world of sports. All I'm saying is that I'm really kicking myself for not using my predictions for the divisional round in the NFL playoffs on Price Picks or DraftKings or whatever random thing. Yeah. Anyway, this is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network, and as of right now, I am recording this on a cloudy Monday afternoon, Monday being January 22nd, 2024, and wild card round has officially ended. And no, nobody got fired. But someone may end up getting promoted. And I'll explain that here in a bit. But just like last time, I want to go over each game in the divisional round and just kind of go over my thoughts. Sound cool? Cool. So we're going to start with the AFC, just like last time. And we are going to start with the 1 versus 4 matchup. And that 1 versus 4 matchup was the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. Ravens 34, Houston 10. And as I said on my personal Facebook the other day, CJ Stroud, granted, had a tough game on Saturday, but I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of. I don't think he has anything to hang his head about. He performed admirably during these playoffs, and he performed admirably against a very tough Ravens defense. This Ravens defense, I think, may be the best in the league. Just overall, and especially really good at stopping the run. Let's go over some of the rushing totals. Devin Singletary only rushed for 22 yards the entire game. Dare Ogun... Let me try again. Dare Ogunbowale? I know I'm butchering that one. Only ran for 7 yards. CJ Stroud only ran for 9. As for Stroud's passing performance, he completed just barely above 50% of his passes for a total of 175 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Like I said, he performed admirably in very tough conditions. Switching over to the Ravens. Granted, they're not going to wow you with offensive stats or whatnot, but these stats are pretty impressive. Lamar Jackson not only got the job done through the air, 16 of 22, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he also got the job done on the ground, rushing for 100 yards and 2 more touchdowns. When was the last time that a quarterback in the National Football League not only passed for 2 touchdowns in a playoff game, but ran for 2 more? That's pretty impressive. If Lamar Jackson does not win the MVP, I have just officially given up on awards in sports, just in general. And then, of course, Justice Hill kind of followed that up with 66 more rushing yards. So, my thoughts on this, like I said, Houston, nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to hang your head about. They did really well in these playoffs, and they're going to be a force for years to come, assuming that management doesn't blow this team up like they did the last one. Granted, the last one, Deshaun Watson was found out to be a complete shitbag But, that's neither here nor there. And I think they're going to be a really tough out for anybody. I think Jacksonville's window for dominating the AFC South just shut. Because now you've got Houston. Indianapolis is going to be coming up to the ranks. And I forget who the other... Oh, Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee's not going to do much for a while. So that's pretty much my thoughts for the Texans. Better luck next year. I'm pretty sure Houston will get done next year. Funny enough, the Texans have yet to reach a single AFC championship game. In the meantime, Baltimore is going to the AFC championship for the first time in 52 years as the home field team. That's right. All those years that they went to the Super Bowl and they won the championship and everything, they were the road team in the AFC championship game in every single one of those years. This is the first time they've ever gone to the AFC championship game and will be hosting the AFC championship game. Now, who are they hosting against? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we're going to be going over that now. The other AFC divisional game was the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills and the number 3 seed Kansas City Chiefs. And I gotta tell you, seeing these two teams play each other is a treat anytime. And it always comes down to the wire. This one was no different. Kansas City 27, Buffalo 24. Patrick Mahomes, as my brother says, he is him. 17 of 23, 215 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco ran for another 97 yards and another touchdown. Travis Kelce caught 5 passes for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And gotta say, that defense really made Josh Allen's life miserable all game. Not just Josh Allen, but pretty much everybody on that Buffalo offense. Speaking of the Buffalo offense, Josh Allen, 26 of 39, 186 yards, 1 touchdown. He also ran for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 2 times in the same week that a quarterback in the playoffs has gone for 3 combined touchdowns between rushing and passing. That's wild. Now, the game, if you didn't watch the game, like I said, it came down to the wire. It came down to the very last play. And it came down to a series of plays, actually. So Josh Allen had the ball, I think it was like 3rd down. And he had one receiver in the end zone and another receiver kind of underneath. The guy underneath was practically wide open and he missed it. And that would have gotten them a 1st down. And they still had all their timeouts. So there was no reason to not throw a check down. The guy in the end zone was covered. He decided to throw it to the guy that was covered anyway. And obviously that turned out to be an incomplete pass. He's lucky it wasn't picked off. But that did set up his field goal kicker. I forget the guy's name. Trevor Bass, I believe. And that is... My brother let me know that dinner's going to be done soon. Yay. So the kicker, Trevor Bass, I think his name's Trevor Bass, so I'm not 100% sure. He was set up and ready to go, and Buffalo Bills fans have got to be living in a constant state of hell. Because if you remember Super Bowl 25, the last play of the game for the Bills in that game against the Giants was a field goal that went wide right. Anytime they show Buffalo Bills highlights in the Super Bowl, that's one of the plays that they show every single time. This one's going to live in infamy as well, because this one also went wide right. Though in Bass's defense, the wind was picking up pretty bad. Like, you could see when they showed the camera shot from behind the goalposts, the flags on top of the goalposts, that the wind was going, really bad to the right. So, yeah, it was understandable that he was going to miss that game or miss that field goal. But, it sucks that such an awesome classic game had to end that way. But that's how it is sometimes. And now Kansas City is going to their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game. That is wild. Like, I don't know if even the Dallas Cowboys back in the 90s have gone to that many consecutive championship games. 6. And all 6 where Patrick Mahomes is the starter. Think about that for a second. Patrick Mahomes has only been a starter for 6 years in the NFL. And he's already 2 away from the all-time conference championship game record currently being held by Tom Brady. That's wild. But Kansas City will be moving on to Baltimore. That's going to be a tough game for Kansas City. But wilder things have happened. Moving to the NFC, you've got the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers and the number 7 seed Green Bay Packers. The result was never a doubt for me, at least in terms of who won, who lost. The result that shocked me was how close the game was. And on top of that, how close it was down to the wire. But in the end, the 49ers pulled it off 24-21. Give Jordan Love his flowers. Give the man his damn flowers. 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, granted 2 interceptions, but that was against a very tough 49ers defense. Granted, the 49ers don't have the best defense in the league, but they're close. And Jordan Love, much like CJ Stroud, is just going to get better from here. Aaron Jones, 108 rushing yards. And Romeo Doubs with 83 reception yards. Green Bay definitely showed up for that game. They probably heard all the talk about how, the 49ers are going to blow them out. It's not going to be close. And they're like, bet. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, Brock Purdy, 252 passing yards for a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, 98 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. That's MVP numbers right there. I know everybody likes to talk about, we should give the MVP to a quarterback this year. If anybody from San Francisco deserves the MVP award, it's Christian McCaffrey. Just saying. But the 49ers will be going to their 4th conference championship in 5 years, where they will be hosting the winner of this next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the number 4 seed versus the number 3 seed Detroit Lions. Lions 31, Tampa Bay 23. And Baker Mayfield had himself a day. You could say it was a good day. You could say it was a bad day. I'll read you the stats and you can decide for yourself. 26 completions for 41 attempts, 349 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mike Evans also had himself a day in what may end up being his last game as a Buccaneer. 147 receiving yards for a touchdown. I would like to say that, Buccaneers, like the Packers, like the Texans, are only going to get better and they're going to be here to stay and da-da-da-da. I'm not so sure. Keep in mind, Tampa Bay didn't even make the playoffs until the last minute. They were in a dogfight in the NFC South with teams like New Orleans and Atlanta. And New Orleans is going to get better. Atlanta is only going to get better, assuming, of course, that they land an actually decent head coach that knows what the fuck he's doing. Or she. You never know. As for the Lions, Jared Goff, 287 passing yards for 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 74 rushing yards for a touchdown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown for 77 receiving yards and a touchdown. And Lions fans were just all out. Like, they were major league loud and proud, and they knew this was it. They knew this is probably going to be the last home game of the season. And they're right. Because even if they beat San Francisco in the conference championship, the Super Bowl is held in Las Vegas this year. So that's it for the season for Detroit fans. But they definitely brought it like there was no tomorrow. And they can now hold their heads high knowing that for only the second time in franchise history, the Detroit Lions are going to the NFC Championship game. Will they make the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history? That remains to be seen. I do know this. Their defense is also tough. You notice a pattern with these Final Four teams. Decent offense. Well, decent to great offense, but great defense. Kansas City has a great defense. Baltimore maybe has the best defense in the league. Detroit has a great defense. San Francisco has a great defense. All 4 of these teams are going to bring it and bring it hard defensively next week. I have no doubt about that. Now, I do want to address a couple of conspiracy theories, I guess you could say, before I move on to the next sports-related topic, which is kind of a sad one, but also not entirely unexpected. So the 2 conspiracy theories that are going around. I mentioned one in brief passing a few episodes back. And that is, if you look at the Super Bowl logo, the logo for this year's Super Bowl, you can see that there's hints of purple in the top and red in the bottom. Now, of the 4 teams in the remaining of the 4 remaining teams in the playoffs right now, which one of those 4 teams has purple as their logo? Now processed by elimination, of the 2 teams that are facing off in the NFC Championship game, which one has red as their logo? So everybody is talking about how, it's preordained and predetermined that it's going to be the 49ers and the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Counter to that is another conspiracy theory, and one that I was supposed to have followed up on a few episodes back, but I didn't. And that's on me. There's a conspiracy theory going around that because of their undying popularity with the younger audience, with the younger crowd, and because of the fact that one of these people in particular has been a ratings draw from day one that she was introduced to the world as Travis Kelce's girlfriend, the idea of fixing the games to where the Lions would face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl just so that we would get non-stop media coverage of Travis Kelce's girlfriend Taylor Swift versus Eminem. Yeah, that is a thing, apparently. Because Eminem, of course, is a Detroit Lions fan. He made it very clear during the wild card round when he was practically begging Matthew Stafford to let us have this one. Us being the Lions, of course. So that's some interesting stuff going on. Personally, if you ask me, I don't know for sure who's going to win the AFC Championship. I don't know who's going to win the NFC Championship. This is one of those times where there's no real clear-cut consensus decision on who's actually going to win their games. Like almost every single year, it's, oh, so-and-so is too good of a team. They're going to end up winning the conference championship. Or why is this team here? Like, what the fuck? You don't get any of that with these four. Baltimore is probably the closest one to, yeah, these guys are really good. I don't see them losing. But Kansas City, I have been taught over the years to never bet against Patrick Mahomes, just like I should never bet against Tom Brady. Because every single time I get egg in my face. So, all of that said, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on who's going to win the conference championship, who's going to win the who's going to go to the Super Bowl, and do you think there is validity behind either one of these two ridiculous conspiracy theories? I don't, but I can see where some people would think that. Anyway, moving on to the other topic, and it's a pretty sad one. I'm going to pull up the news article now. So, let's see, where is the news article? Here we go. This should work. Now, if you're like me, if you are a sports fan and have been a sports fan since at the very least the early 2000s, you know the name Sports Illustrated. You know that Sports Illustrated is practically an institution. But you also have seen the almost historic decline of print media. Well, that decline is now even more evident. Per CNN.com, the future of Sports Illustrated was uncertain Friday after the publisher of the iconic magazine and website laid off most or, quote, probably all of its guild-represented staff, its union said. In a memo sent to staff viewed by CNN, the magazine's publisher said it is, quote, laying off staff that work on the SI brand, end quote. Authentic Brands Group has owned the magazine and website since 2019. It sold the publishing rights to Arena Group, but the company missed a recent payment for those publishing rights, and ABG revoked them, the publisher said in its memo. The union that represented these guys stated in a statement on X, Twitter, whatever, quote, "This is another difficult day in what has been a difficult 4 years for Sports Illustrated under Arena Group, previously the Maven stewardship. We are calling on ABG to ensure the continued publication of SI and allow it to serve our audience in the way it is for nearly 70 years." End quote. Here are my thoughts. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you already know what I'm about to say. You already know what the one common denominator across every single channel, Sports Central, Are We Not Entertained, News Desk, Life, Tech, Game Stream, all of them. Even the legacy podcast from back in 2021 and 2022. You know the one constant theme with every single one of them has been from day one, from the moment I started doing this podcast to today, for over 2 years now, I have been preaching change is inevitable. It is constant. It is inevitable. You can do your best to combat it. You can do your best to fight it, but you are going to lose every single time. It sucks that those people lost their jobs. It sucks that we're seeing practically the death of an institution. One of the biggest institutions in sports. If you really think about it, Sports Illustrated. Say what you will about, who has magazines delivered to their door anymore. Say what you will about any of that. Sports Illustrated has been an institution for decades. How many guys listening to this right now have purchased at least one swimsuit issue? How many people have gone on the Sports Illustrated website back in the day and looked at all the images of not just a swimsuit issue, but also images of like just classic. Here's my thinking. My days when I was unemployed back in 2003. This was when I was furloughed from federal government work. I would often go on the Sports Illustrated website and I would look up classic images of like Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or any number of basketball players. And not just basketball. I would look up images of Muhammad Ali. I would look up images of Joe Frazier. I would look up images. This was before Google image search was as big as it is now. And I would use those as my desktop on my computer, as like a rotating desktop. Every single day it was a different image. And not just classic images, like current images even, or more, or at least most recent. There was an image of John Stockton hitting the shot, the famous shot over the Houston Rockets back in 1997. That was a desktop of mine for like a week. And I got that from the Sports Illustrated website. So to see Sports Illustrated basically dying a death, like I can't understate just how significant this is. Like, this is the end of an era. This is the end of an institution that has been a part of sports fans' lives for over 60 years. And even it isn't big enough to avoid the winds of change. Even Sports Illustrated cannot survive the coming winds of change. Think about that for a second. If Sports Illustrated isn't immune to the change and the dying death of print media, who's next? I mean, is Playboy on its way out? I mean, newspapers have practically been dead for years now. Nobody uses a phone book anymore. This is the death of print media. Everybody is now going more and more and more towards online media. Nobody gets their news from the newspaper anymore. Nobody gets their sports news from Sports Illustrated or their sports editorials from Sports Illustrated. If we want to know something about, the news, we listen to podcasts, we listen to YouTube, we listen to, talking heads on the radio or on TV. Or we look up something like I just did this few minutes ago on Google. Same thing with sports. If you want to hear something about sports, if you want to hear opinions about sports, I mean, hello, you listen to podcasts. You listen to Jim Rome's show on YouTube or X or wherever he's at these days. You listen to guys like Stephen A. and Skip Bayless and all these guys on YouTube or on their shows. Or you, like I did just a few minutes ago, look up something on Google. We don't get that stuff from print media anymore. And this is why I've been saying for years now, you can't stop change. You can soften the blow as best as you can. You can do your best to transition. But at the end of the day, change is coming. I think the one thing that really shot Sports Illustrated in the foot was when it was found out a few weeks ago that one of their editors was using AI content to generate news, and they forgot to proofread it, and they were caught spreading lies. I can't remember what the exact story was, but the guy that it was being talked about in the AI article came out and blatantly said, no, that's false. That's demonstrably false. And I'll prove it to you here, here, and here. So I think that's what shot them in the foot. And that's probably what killed them. It's tough. It sucks. And I really hope that the guys and gals that lost their jobs on Friday as a result of this are able to find really solid work, or at the very least are getting a nice severance package. It sucks, but it is what it is. Like I keep saying, change is inevitable. And I don't want to cross the streams, but this is why I've been preaching on the News Desk podcast for a few months now. Universal base income. But yeah, rest in peace, Sports Illustrated. It is what it is. So, on that somber note, if you guys want to leave a review on Spotify, I would welcome that. If you're watching this on Facebook, please like, share, and comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way you're notified anytime that a new video drops. And in case you can't tell, I am not nearly as tired this week as I was last week. So, all of your efforts, downloading, donating, watching, listening, are not going unnoticed. Thank you. And I am going to go check my messages because apparently my phone's been going off. So, until next time, everybody, let's go ahead and remember to include our closing tags as soon as this dialog box goes away. Why is the dialog box not going away? I have a dialog box that's blocking my record. There it is. Okay. Thank you.